Hi, and welcome to the Calmly Disruptive podcast, which is my brand new podcast I have just released. And it has taken me a very, very long time. I've always wanted to do my sole own podcast, and this has been that change for me. So if you're new, my name is Deb. And yeah, I'm going to take you through my journey. And if you've been following me for quite a while, you'll know where I've been and where I'm kind of going to now. But yeah, thank you for being here and thank you for listening. I want episode one of this to basically be quite transparent and quite honest, because it's pretty much what I want this to kind of I want this to flow in a way that's actually going to be quite transparent. It's not going to be script read. Obviously, like I've got points and things that I'll touch on my PC because I have a sieve of a brain, but I want it to be quite open and honest. I don't want things to be polished. I don't want to be, putting out motivational words in kind of like, this bountiful music in the background. I want it to be honest and I want it to be raw and real. So hopefully that is something that you guys are looking for. And I just want to have a real kind of conversation about why I've kind of taken the direction that I've taken and why I coach the way I do now. And why it matters to me, and especially for women. And that is largely what this podcast is going to be about, is helping women be their best selves, be strong, fit and healthy, and have sustainable, long, plentiful lives. As cheesy as that may sound, it's what this is going to be about. Because the fitness industry is very, very loud. There's a lot of confusing stuff out there. And again, I might just be adding to the mix there, but I want to be a voice that stands out to reason. If I don't know something, I'll be honest about it, but I love going through and researching things and just being there as an advocate for women in the fitness industry. A big thing of it's come from women are quite literally burning out in the fitness industry. And it's something that I've been seeing going on for the 12 years that I've been in the industry, predominantly obviously in bodybuilding, which I'll go through in a moment. But I just want it to be a very transparent and safe environment for women to talk through. And also, there's going to be no bullshit in this as well. I'm going to be honest. I am going to go through things that people haven't gone through, shine a light on things. And again, not here to slander or have a go at any person in particular. It's just my experience and what I've gone through in my decade plus of being in the fitness industry. So this podcast is predominantly going to be about building strength, confidence, training, nutrition tips, helping women with their hormone health, long-term health, and basically we want to train hard, we want to get results, but we don't want to be going to unnecessary extremes and provoking unnecessary health implications along the way. So yeah, let's get into it. So a little bit about me and my background. I'm sorry if people watching this know me, but I will delve into obviously where I've been. So originally I used to be a fashion model back when I was probably about 14. I started right the way up into about my early 20s, so 19, 20, and then I stopped because I went down a very unhealthy route of undereating, running far too much, and just basically going out drinking and doing all these kinds of things which are extremely unhealthy. I did push my way into the fitness industry a little bit more then, with a little bit more back science and kind of approach to what I was doing, and swiftly moved into the bodybuilding industry, which I will say as a preface here, I do not have any malice towards the bodybuilding industry. It's taught me everything I know. It's put me in a position of where I am now. It's a lot of the protocols and the direction in which it's headed that concern me, and that is something I will talk about further down the line on this podcast, because I will be here all day otherwise and you guys might not want to listen to me. So yes, I came into the bodybuilding industry in 2014, so been at it a long time. Retired in 2022 knowingly at the time, and yes, that's kind of where I've been in the midst of that. It taught me structure, it taught me discipline, the resilience and kind of the transferability of kind of just being good at something, and how amazing the human body is and what we're capable of and where we can take it. It also shone a very bright light on some things that people aren't aware of. And again, there's always two sides to a coin, right? On every topic. Competed several times, won my overalls. I mean, I got my swords and stuff back here, my medals and that kind of thing, but didn't ever achieve my pro card. And I think that's a big thing for me as well, because I didn't achieve it. Doesn't mean that I'm stepping away from bodybuilding, because I feel like it it just basically wasn't for me anymore. I went to very far lengths of it. I did very well at an amateur level. I'm very competitive. I worked my way up the ranks, but I didn't go for my pro card any further just because of implications and things that I just wasn't willing to do in order to get that pro card as well. Yeah, so I've lived in those phases of kind of like extreme focus, isolation, and to be fair, I enjoyed that at the time because it was a challenge. But yes, that's kind of where I come from, and did it for many, many, many years, and won many things and did very well. But yeah, it was kind of at a point where I was like, right, this is enough for me. So yeah, I also think that a big thing for me was that I started to kind of question things that were overly normalized, I think, within the industry, which have then kind of bled into a lot of the fitness industry surrounding bodybuilding. You know, if you look at the uptake of bodybuilding, especially since I started back in 2014, that's 12 years ago, you know, it wasn't the way it is now. It's boomed now. It's kind of lost a little bit of its meaning in some ways, I think. And I feel like a lot of the bodybuilder lifestyle has bled out into the general kind of industry of fitness. You know, it's yeah, that's something that I will get into, and that's why I've kind of come on and wanted to do this podcast to push things and kind of talk through what's gone on and you know what people should be aware of really. But yeah, it's not, like I said, it's not a chapter of my life that I regret at all. It taught me a lot, and put me where I am today. So I'm thankful for it in many, many ways. But it's knowing when to stop. But yeah, I just want to kind of make sure that women are safe within what they're doing. And I coach women and men competitively, and I still do coach a couple of them. I've kept my long-term clients in because I do love working with them. They're all natural clients, and I absolutely adore working with them. But I will not take on any new clients for preparation. So comp prep, I just do posing for bodybuilding now, which I do love that side as well. That's been a huge part of my life and something that I will continue to do until I cannot do it anymore. It's great. I love the posing aspect of it. But as I coach more women going through this, you know, I started to see a lot of different patterns in what was kind of going on beneath a lot of the reasoning why they were doing it. And I find it wasn't for me. I wasn't willing to sacrifice their health and push them to places they, you know, they're aware of what they go through. You know, you preface that when someone comes on, you're like, you have to do this, you have to diet quite hard, you have to do a lot of expenditure, you have to avoid social events, and you know, like you can go to them, but it makes it difficult for some people. They're all or nothing, which is a phrase we'll come back to later on. But it's one of those things where you just want to make sure that you let your client know what they're in for, and you give them the autonomy throughout the whole of the process to quit or stop, because it is their choice. However, you get some people that don't really know what they're getting into when they get into it, and it can cause so many disruptions later on to hormones, to their psychology and their relationship with food, you know, their relationship with cardio and training and compensatory kind of factors, that they eat less or they'll do more. And there's so much psychology that goes around that and entails a lot of disordered eating and things like that, that you just have to be ever so careful with it, especially if you are taking someone in that has suffered from an eating disorder previously. It's a minefield, and that's one of the reasons why I didn't want to be responsible for potentially harming someone unknowingly through a psychological means as well. But yes, that was kind of the reason for me turning, and now I'm very much focused on helping women be fit and strong. You know, more kind of education around nutrition, and you know, a lot of people avoid certain foods, and yes, there's shit food out there, there's great food, but you know, we're all human beings, and we want to have a little bit of something, you know, that's naughty or we don't normally eat, and that's perfectly normal. And I think that learning, you know, the basics of thermodynamics and how that kind of portrays itself within our lifetime is really important, because you know, it's very, very largely misconstrued throughout the industry on nutrition. There's a lot of stigmatization around certain nutrients, and you know, it could go on forever. So yes, there was for me a very dramatic kind of realization of what I didn't want to do when I quit bodybuilding. So I remember it vividly, and I was post-show in 2022 working my way up to an off-season, obviously reversing out of the show. And I will not name coaches because I don't believe in that, but I had, so I'll be very honest, so I did use PEDs. Not a large amount because it didn't do a lot of damage to me, but I stopped when I had that ceiling. And I use things like diuretics as well, which are very dangerous. So I use things like aldactone and diazide. So aldactone I'd never used before, and I used that into each show that I did in 2022, which obviously had the effect of getting you drier. I was also at the time flying and doing some modelling work at the time, obviously with companies you can't disclose because you signed an NDA. So I was doing a lot of fitness modeling as well, getting lots of jobs. So I was having a great time. I was being very successful in my career in competing and also as a fitness model. And I was about 4 weeks post show. And my period had stopped. So I had amenorrhea. That stopped probably about 8 weeks out, 10 weeks out from my show. And then it returned to me 4 weeks post show. So that was pretty good. And I was quite happy with that because I was like, right, that means my hormones are starting to level off. And I'm someone on a reverse diet that I don't do fewer calories reversing out. I need to kind of get to a decent baseline because I just can't handle that drastic drop in tiny bits coming up. Everyone's different on the reverse. So anyway, I came back on, my cycle started, menstruation started. Obviously, from the use of aldactone, you get a bad rebound, so water retention is there. And I also have my period. So again, water retention, I'm a ballooned up at this point. Checking with my coach, and my coach said, you have to rein it in. You have to rein it in. You know, despite me divulging that I'm I'm menstruating and I'm rebounding quite harshly off a diuretic, which did land me in the hospital probably like 2 weeks later. I had a kidney infection, which was quite serious. And it got to that point, that's where my mind kind of shifted a little bit because it got to the point where that in my health was not considered. It was just the end product of what I could achieve as an athlete. And if I pushed, I could have achieved great things. But in my head, it was at what cost? So then that happened. I tried to push back in many, many times, eating a lot in the off season. And I just thought, you know what, fuck this. I'm not doing it anymore. It wasn't for me. I'd switched off. I'd been done. So it was a very, long time coming because I've only just realized and come to that conclusion in 2025, the end of 2025, that I just did not want to compete anymore because it wasn't for me. I want to do something else. I want to do something that I can challenge myself with, be fit, be healthy, be strong, and not have to sacrifice my health alongside that. So yes, that's a little bit about who I am, why I'm going where I'm going. If this podcast is all over the place, guys, I'm sorry, but I'm trying to keep structure with a mind of ADHD that goes off into 20 different tabs. And I'm hoping someone listening can sympathize with that. So a lot of my kind of principles now are kind of in the aspect of it has to be sustainable. The coaching, what we're doing has to be sustainable. Phases are phases for a purpose. We don't live in a phase for too long. Especially something along the sides of a deficit, extreme expenditure and things like that. And if we are living in those, we make sure that we take the correct precautions and protocols to duck in and out of those when the body needs that rest. Your nutrition should be supporting your performance levels. You should not have a kind of blanket of control over your life when you want to go out to dinner and things like that. And I know this because I lived like that for so many years where I just said no to everything. And it's taken me a long time to reverse out of that. So if anyone's listening and they have that same kind of mindset at the moment, you're not alone. It does take time, but it's far more enjoyable, I can tell you. I'm eating all the cheese at the minute. I did my biome messed up as well, which I think is a really important thing, from eating the same foods for so many years strictly and just eating the same thing day in, day out. I had no variety. I just ate what I was told. And you know what? I got great results from it. But again, going back into more of like a normalized situation, I felt as if, yeah, I'm in a bit of shit here because I can't do normal things anymore in terms of my dietary habits. The recovery and things is more optimal now. I'm eating better and I'm not dieting. So I lived in a lot of seasonal kind of phases where it'd be off season, then prep, then off season, then prep. So, I'm dieting for 6 to 7 months of a year, and then going back into an extreme off season and then going back into an extreme deficit, prep, which is required. That is the requirements for bodybuilding. It's an extreme sport. I know this. So yes, I decided, yep, that's not for me. So who is this podcast for? Honestly, it can be for anyone. Anyone wants to listen. It's going to be a lot of rambling, potentially, but hopefully it's going to help some people listening to it, because I'm I'm here to calmly disrupt some of the crap that's out there, and that's the whole purpose of this podcast. We're going to have guests on. We're going to have a lot of people speaking about things that probably are shied away from quite a lot. And just generally just support women in fitness. I think that's the main thing. It's getting results and things, and talking to each other and asking questions, anonymously. You can send them in if you want, and I will do my best to answer those. And if not, I will get a guest on that who is well versed in that topic that can answer those for you, because again, I don't know everything. It'd be brilliant if I did, but I don't. And it's also, I think, for anyone that's been questioning what they're going through, is it normal? Is this something that I need to question? Is this something I need to change? Chuck it in here. Ask yourselves, do I need to follow this protocol? You should always, if you're being coached by someone, I think it's always imperative that you're able to communicate with that coach and have that rapport to say, what's the purpose of this? What's it doing for me? And if you feel that's not responding well with you, you need to question it. And if you get told to just do it, because it's on the plan, and they don't give you a good enough explanation, or they explain that doesn't make sense, that's a red flag. So you need to be so careful, because nowadays there's so many charlatans in the industry that they will just take your money and they won't care about your health, and then you're left with your life in pieces because they've not cared about you. Okay, so anything that you are unsure of, feel free to ask, and we will answer on here. And like I said, we will get guests on that will answer it for you, that know what we should be looking for. Again, like, you're not weak, you're not you don't lack discipline for wanting to follow a different path. Like, I'm following a different path now. I'm following one of starting running again. I haven't done that in over 12 years. Doing more calisthenics, still doing resistance training, strength training, but I want to build a functional, fit physique for what I want to basically achieve in my life. So yes. So thank you so much for listening to this first episode. It's been a little bit all over the place, but that's a little bit of what it will entail. We will do some fun stuff on here as well. So any questions that you've got, we will answer them. We'll do some anonymous ones as well, which can be quite fun. I've done these on previous podcasts before and they're great. But I will try and be doing one of these a week. And if it is a success and you guys want more, I will put happy to chat, and then I will do a live alongside this as well, so you can get your questions in. But yeah, please feel free to like, subscribe, and share to anyone that you think, okay, this is the podcast that we need and this will help them along the way. That would be absolutely amazing if you could. Yes, and I will see you on the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Peace out.